Welcome back to Carolina Newsmakers. Here's your host, Don Curtis.
We're back on Carolina Newsmakers. Our guest is one of the candidates for the Democratic nomination for governor of the state of North Carolina on the Democratic slate. That would be Ken Spaulding from Durham, North Carolina, practicing attorney. He served in the General Assembly for 14 years?
No, for 6 years.
6 years.
And on the Board of Transportation for 4.
Okay. And, of course, has been a civic leader in the area, in this area of North Carolina, in the Raleigh-Durham Triangle area for a long, long time. We talked a great deal in the first segment about your views on the economy and education. Some people may be joining us late, so let's sort of recap in a shorter version of what you said in that first segment, some of the things that you're going to be pushing in your campaign that affect the area of education and indirectly the economy.
In regard to education, I think that it's very important that we are seeing that our teachers are respected, that they are being paid. They are the only profession that I know that are required to be in our lives for 13 years. That's from K through 12. We need to treat them as the professionals that they are. I do not believe in mediocrity. I think that our teachers should be paid in a manner in which we're not losing them to these other states. They should be paid, as I say, as the professionals they are. Our whole educational system, we're always working to see if we're going to be at the national average. I don't believe in mediocrity, as I said. I want us to be in the top 5 or the top 10 at the least, but hopefully in the top 5 as far as education. North Carolina has those possibilities. We have to prioritize and make sure that our educational system and the money is spent on our children and on our entire infrastructure of education that is being done in a way that makes sense for North Carolina but puts us up in the top 5 or top 10 of this country. No more of this national average. Our children deserve more than a national average. We don't want our children to be national average children. We want them to be the best. And so we have to prioritize and make sure that we use education as that pathway to success for our children, our grandchildren, our relatives, all of children in North Carolina who go through public education. We cannot take money away, in my opinion, by these private school vouchers. I think what's happening with them is that that's draining money away for private schools, tax dollars going to private schools when we should be building up education. Teacher tenure. My opponent, Roy Cooper, worked side by side in court through his office with Pat McCrory and the Republicans when they got rid of teacher tenure. And so certain educational things, and I'm going to say this about teacher tenure. Politicians want you to think, well, that means they've got a guaranteed job. You can't get rid of them. They can be bad teachers and they just can stay. That's not it. Teacher tenure is this. Teacher tenure was the fact that it was a due process, meaning that they had an opportunity for a hearing before being relieved from a job if there were grounds to relieve them. It was just them having that due process hearing. In regard to the economy, I want to see economic growth and development all across North Carolina, not just the urban areas, but to see it in our rural areas, in the eastern part and the western, far western part of this state. If we have a good, strong economic base, both educationally and economic, as far as growth and development, we will find that North Carolina can withstand these great recessions like we had from 2008 to now. We're just pulling ourselves out of it, but not to the degree of where we were before. We've got to do better, and we can do better.
We also covered the area of Medicaid, and if you would, for those joining the program late.
Medicaid expansion. I'm in favor of Medicaid expansion. And as I said before, a lot of times the politicians want you to say that Medicaid expansion, that's another one of those social welfare programs. That is not what it is. When they hear the words Medicaid, that's for poor people. Expansion meaning getting larger. That's not what it is. Medicaid expansion is an opportunity for people's health to be taken care of. The money does not go into their pockets. The money goes into the to pay the hospital bills. It goes to the doctors. It goes to the nurses. It goes to the health professionals. It goes into those people being paid for the services that they render. That money goes back into North Carolina, an infusion in our economy. We were entitled to $2 billion over a 2-year period, if I'm not mistaken, or pretty close to that. that we would be getting from the federal government. That money that was allocated for us would be going to other states. We could be getting that money. We could be taking care of the health and the safety of people's health and preventative care if we were allowed to have this Medicaid expansion. Our hospitals are unable to get reimbursed for the services they rendered that they used to get from the federal government because the Affordable Care Act took that away because they expected the states to take Medicaid expansion. We were entitled to that money. That's North Carolina money. I would like to see us get it and to pay for these hospitals to stay open and for people's health care to be taken care of by paying for those doctors, nurses, and other health professionals.
Now, the campaigning will really start ramping up right after the first of the year because our primary is in March, which is earlier. Yeah. So what, other than the issues we've already talked about, what are some of the other issues that you think will be things that the citizens of North Carolina are going to be concerned about when they go to the polls in March?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll just, like I've told you before, I say what I mean. I mean what I say. I'm not a politician. I want to be a public servant, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So I'm going to just be straight up and say to you that I don't think they want a bunch of politicians, career politicians, people who have been divisive on both sides, Republican and Democrats. They don't want business as usual, more of the same. You know, we want things to settle down. We want people who are elected to office to represent us, not get over and think that the government and they are all the power and it's all about them versus the people. And I think that one of the things why I'm doing this at my very seasoned age and having had a very successful career, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I really don't think that big money should continue to dictate both to the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. I'm raising reasonable and sensible money. Yes, I need more. No, I cannot compete monetarily with Pat McCrory and Roy Cooper. They're both raising about the same $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, whatever it's going to be that they're in the process of doing. But I ask you this. If the phone is ringing and you're governor, and the two lines there, one is from the people and one from big money, whose line do you think that politician is going to pick up? It's going to be big money. I have never seen, and I think people are more important than that dollar bill, because I've never seen a dollar bill get in a car, crank up the car, drive to the polling place, go into that precinct and voting booth, we used to call it, but now the little voting area, and to cast a ballot. But I've seen people do that. And we are no longer giving credit to people. We're letting money buy these elections and not letting the people's voices truly be heard. And that's why, whether it's an uphill battle or not, I'm in this and will stay in this to the absolute end to be able to prove and to be victorious and to win and prove that people are more important than just money and just big money. And that's why I'm running. You can say it's naive or you can say it's idealistic. I put over 2 years of hard work in it. You can hear my voice is going a little bit right now because I'm dedicated to trying to do this, because I want to send a message not only across this state, but across this country that people do make a difference and we are important.
Thank you. You've given me just the right amount of time to thank Ken Spaulding for being with us. He is a candidate for the Democratic nomination for governor and the March 2016 primary. We appreciate you taking time to share your thoughts with us, and we will look forward to having you back on again later. Our program has been produced by Jason Kong, and he'll have another guest for us next week on this same group of stations all across North Carolina. Till next week, have a nice week, everybody.
This has been Carolina Newsmakers. For the entire production team, this is Alan Phillips, inviting you to listen to this program and all of the state government radio programs via streaming audio at stategovernmentradio.com.